Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White and White Sense, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Friday the 13th of June 2025. This week's been quite an eventful week as we are preparing to go to the festival next week. We have been lucky enough to have a charity stand and we're going to have a human fruit machine this year. In previous years we've done gold ball, but this year we decided to make a change. So we've got our volunteers ready and our stand is being made as we speak. Also next week before the festival, Emma and I will be at St Mary's in the eye department on Monday, offering training to the nursing staff there on the reality of living with sight loss. This is the second set of training we've done to ensure that all nursing staff receive the training. So if anybody is going to the Isle of Wight Festival next week, don't forget to come and look for the stand. We're in the charity section, which is at the bottom of Strawberry Fields. Thank you. Lisa, CEO, Sight for White and White Sense.
Here is this week's charity news, week commencing 13th of June. Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you'll be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join.
Yoga is on Tuesday at Millbrook House. This group is now full, but if you wish to put your name down on the waiting list, please call the office.
Coffee and Chat is on Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
Now the warmer and hopefully sunnier weather is coming, our tandem bikes are now out and about. If you would like to book a session, please call the office and a slot can be booked with the pilots.
Our June Eye on social we will be on Wednesday at the Crown Inn Shorewell at 12:30 p.m. If you would like to join us, please call the office and put your name down on the list.
Next weekend we will be attending the Isle of Wight Festival in Newport. If you or a family member is attending, please ask them to pop along to our stand and have a go on our new exciting game we are trialling at the festival. We thank all our wonderful volunteers who once again offer their time to man the stall for the duration. Without them, we would not be able to attend these events and raise vital funds for the charity.
On June the 25th, we have Lisa from Green Isle of Wight coming in to offer a free cooking session for air fryers. Spaces are limited to 10, and if oversubscribed, we will have to put names into a ballot. If this is something you'd be interested in, please call the office and speak to Susan.
We are pleased to announce several new dates for upcoming summer events. We have once again been invited to the Royal Victoria Yacht Squadron on Saturday the 12th of July to take part in their annual Disability Sailing Day. All members who have attended before all have thoroughly enjoyed themselves. Numbers are limited, but if oversubscribed, a ballot will take place for the allocated spaces. Please call the office if you are interested.
Another activity on the sea is a trip on wet wheels. This chartered boat will take members out onto the Solent for a 90-minute trip. The dates are the 11th of August and the 1st of September. The cost is £8 per person, but once again numbers are limited, so a ballot will have to be held if oversubscribed. Please call the office if you're interested.
Our monthly 100 Club has spare balls available. If anyone would like to buy a ball, it is £2 per month or £24 for the full year. The more balls in draw, the higher the prize money each month. If you would like to take part in our monthly draw, please call the office. This is part of our fundraising activities.
If you sometimes wish you had a friend to talk to and feel isolated from the outside world, our telephone befrienders are on hand to call you for a friendly chat. The calls can be weekly, fortnightly or monthly and can be tailored around your needs. If you would like to receive a telephone call, please call the office and we will match you with a befriender.
This is Chris, reading an article by Chris Kane. Sight for White's Short Story Writing Competition 2025. I am the one and only, nobody I'd rather be. Are you the one and only? Celebrity Big Brother finalist Chesney Hawkes back to record another winning story. Sight for White is thrilled to announce the launch of its annual short story writing competition on Monday, the 16th of June, tying in with the 16th year of the competition. Originally started by patrons R.C. Bridgestock, international crime writing authors, and in celebration of the charity's remarkable 160th birthday. This year's theme, Superhero, invites storytellers of all ages to unleash their creativity and imagine worlds where courage, kindness, and extraordinary abilities shine. Whether it's a caped crusader, a silent protector, or an everyday hero with a heart of gold, the theme is wide open for interpretation. The competition features 5 winning categories: under 8s, 8s to 11s, 12 to 17s, and 18 plus, and the prestigious Adana Minghella Award celebrating outstanding storytelling. Chris Kane, competition organiser, said, "This is an exciting opportunity for budding island writers to become well-published authors and win some great prizes. We really want everyone to let their imaginations run wild with this year's theme, and our mystery judges are looking forward to reading all the stories." Adding sparkle to the excitement, the winning entries will be brought to life by a stellar lineup of celebrity readers, including Chesney Hawkes, best known for his hit single, The One and Only, which topped the UK singles chart for 5 weeks and reached the top 10 in the United States. Chesney came 5th in this year's Celebrity Big Brother. This is Chesney's 3rd year reading for us. Richard Cadell, known for being an in-vision presenter of The Hand of Puppet Sooty. This is Richard's 5th year reading for us. Andy Jackson, a familiar voice on the radio in the South for around 30 years, including 25 years on Wave 105, and now heard daily on Easy Radio, weekdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m, and on the Nation Radio Drive Time show from 4 p.m. every afternoon. Kate Weston. Kate was a presenter at Wave 105, where she spent many happy years laughing her way through the Tea Time and Big Drive Home shows before moving to Rick Jackson in the Morning in January 2017. She can be heard on Easy Radio South with her breakfast show, and this is Kate's 2nd year reading for us. Darren Walsh. Darren worked as an illustrator, animator, and short filmmaker, lifelong Monty Python nerd, and official giant. He decided to try his hand at stand-up in 2010, using props and strange sound effects he's made in his bedroom. He now does comedy and can often be found out and about on the streets, asking people if they want a free pun. He will also be appearing at the Ventnor Fringe Festival on Saturday, the 26th of July, 2025. Winners can also look forward to fantastic prizes, such as family days out to popular island attractions and travel vouchers courtesy of Red Funnel, Whitelink and Hover Travel. The competition culminates in a joyful awards ceremony on Friday, the 12th of December at the Riverside Centre, Newport, with entertainment from the melodic Hannah the Vintage Songbird and captivating magic from Huxley Magician. The event promises to be a heartwarming celebration of creativity and community, and, best of all, it's free to attend. Entry forms are available by email admin@iwsb.org.uk or in person from Waterstones, High Street, Newport, Sight for White, Millbrook House, 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport, and Dress for Less, 57 Parr Street, Newport. The entry fee for 18 plus age group is £8 per story. Under 18s, a suggested donation of £2 per story.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Amazon World welcomes birth of endangered slow loris twins. Amazon World Zoo Park on the Isle of Wight is celebrating the rare and exciting birth of endangered pygmy slow loris twins, born on May the 2nd to proud parents Romina, 9, and Lapek, 14. These tiny primates mark the fourth successful birth at the zoo since the pair arrived in December 2020. This is an especially significant event, as these are the only pygmy slow loris twins born in the UK in the last year. Globally, just 7 other European zoos have recorded births in the same period, according to ZIM's Zoological Information Management System. Native to the rainforests and bamboo thickets of Southeast Asia, the pygmy slow loris is the world's only venomous primate. They use venom from a special gland mixed with their saliva to protect their young from predators. These nocturnal creatures feed on tree gum, nectar, and insects and can be seen in the zoo's twilight area. Listed as endangered by the IUCN, their numbers have declined by over 50% in the past 24 years due to habitat loss and illegal wildlife trade. This birth is a vital contribution to the conservation of this unique and threatened species.
This is Chris reading an article from the Island Echo. Iconic Columbine building to be sold to White Shipyard on a 125-year lease. East Cowes' iconic Columbine building, famously known for its Union flag, looks set to be sold to White Shipyard Company. County Hall's Policy, Finance and Resources Committee last Thursday voted in favour of a recommendation for a 125-year leasehold disposal of the Columbine building to long-standing tenant White Shipyard Company. A final delegated decision to sell the council-owned building is subject to 5 criteria being met and has not yet been taken. Criteria include the capital receipt received being at or above an independent valuer's recommendation and the council retaining the prom building. There are also to be covenants to keep the site in maritime use and to protect the Columbine's Union Jack doors and white-tailed eagles mural. Councillors Jonathan Bacon, Andrew Garrett, Ed Blake, Ian Stevens, Chris Quirk and Ian Ward voted for the sale proposal. The Empowering Islanders Group's councillor, Chris Jarman, was the only committee member to vote against, and there were no abstentions. A council report prepared in advance of Thursday's meeting said, in October 2021, the council received over £5.5 million from the UK government's Levelling Up Fund, LUF, supplemented by over £1.5 million in match funding from various sources, culminating in a total project budget of over £7 million to fund the three core investment elements of the project: the Victoria Barracks, the Columbine and Public Realm. In February 2024, White Shipyard, WSY, the main tenant of the building, approached the council regarding extending their occupation of the building to include 2 large floors recently refurbished as part of the Levelling Up Fund works. White Shipyard Company also expressed an interest in purchasing the building to enable potential expansion capabilities. Both proposals align strongly with the Council's strategic goals of supporting local employment, enabling maritime-related uses, and fostering economic regeneration alongside wider government objectives to support economic growth.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Isle of Wight school closures still needed, warns new Education Committee. The Isle of Wight has too many primary schools and there will need to be closures, the chair of the new Children's Services, Education and Skills Committee has warned. Conservative Deputy Group Leader Councillor Paul Brading has described the island's falling birth rate and pupil numbers as having a massive impact on school finances. His comments come after County Hall transitioned to a new committee governance model, replacing its former cabinet system. The Children's Services, Education and Skills Committee holds responsibility for issues such as school standards and improvement, school place planning and admissions, SEND provision, and child and adolescent mental health services. Councillor Brading said, "We've got too many primary schools on the island. I started to address the issue in the West Wight in my previous Education Cabinet position, where we looked at the schools in the West Wight and we managed to reduce them from 5 to 4, and all those schools are now sustainable." The falling birth rate and falling pupil numbers have a massive impact on the finances of schools, and when schools are under financial pressure, they're having to make some really serious financial decisions, restructuring exercises. All that uncertainty and change, in my view, is affecting the standards of education on the island, and that has to be addressed and corrected. Schools really have to close. The representative for Lake South served as the Council's Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Education and Skills between 2017 and 2021. In the role, he oversaw the closure of the Yarmouth Primary site, merging the school with All Saints Primary in Freshwater. He is also currently the Vice Chair of Governors at Broadley Primary School, his old school. Looking back at County Hall's recent school closure plans, which provoked widespread controversy, Councillor Brading said there should have been a lot more conversations with the Diocese of Portsmouth during the process's very early stage and with academies on the island. The councillor added he would make sure a renewed closures process is conducted in an open, fair, transparent way. If we do get to the stage of a closures recommendation, we'll have done all the homework properly in advance. It won't be rushed. It'll be done thoroughly and properly. The Children's Services, Education and Skills Committee will meet on the 14th of August.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Opportunity for islanders lost forever. Outcry over land asset sales. A councillor who voted against 4 land asset sales passed by an Isle of Wight Council committee last week has lamented an opportunity for islanders lost forever. The Empowering Islanders Group's Councillor Chris Jarman was the sole opponent on the Policy, Finance and Resources Committee, PFRC, of the sale of the Columbine building in East Cowes, the Sandham Middle School site in Sandown, Elmdon, a former care home in Shanklin, and the Thompson House site in Gatcombe. The representative for Totland and Colwell said disposing the assets to commercial developers under commercially confidential terms would obstruct a potential delivery of social rent housing. He told the press, in January 2025, full council passed a motion by Empowering Islanders and Conservative groups that disposal of Isle of Wight Council land assets would be subject to a disposal policy. That policy would require each piece of council land to be assessed for delivery by the council of social rent housing prior to disposal. Officers were directed to complete that policy document and hence ensure that no further sales to commercial developers would rob us of the lands to deliver social rent housing. Despite reminders, the policy was not brought to full council for approval, nor were the councillors that proposed the policy even contacted for input. Instead, it was held back until last week, where it was presented with a few days' notice to the new PFRC. Councillor Jarman said the draft policy circulated did not comply with the will of the full council motion passed in January, and so could not be approved. His position at the PFRC last week was to delay the discussion on these disposals by just 4 weeks so that it would fall under the new policy. Such a delay just possibly would have changed the decision from a commercial sale to the council delivering substantial numbers of social rent housing, he added. A council report on the Columbine building disposal says a sale would align strongly with the council's strategic goals of supporting local employment, enabling maritime-related uses, and fostering economic regeneration. The sale of the former Sandham Middle School site would ensure the delivery of much-needed housing on the Isle of Wight, a separate report states. Officers have said the Elmdon site is surplus to the council's requirements and that the preferred bidder, Mr. R. Bendy, is proposing to redevelop the site for a residential use. The selected bidder for the Thompson House site, Strategic Green Land, is looking to build 15 new homes, subject to planning permission, with a contribution towards off-site affordable homes, according to the council.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Late venue change for Osborne Proms due to unforeseen circumstances. Organisers of Osborne Proms 25 have announced a change of venue for this summer's open-air classical concert due to unforeseen circumstances. The event will no longer take place at Osborne House as planned. Instead, Proms 25 will be held at Robin Hill Adventure Park on the original date of Saturday the 26th of July. While the change of venue may come as a disappointment to those looking forward to the iconic Osborne House setting, The team behind Proms 25 are excited to deliver an unforgettable evening of music and celebration at Robin Hill, all in support of Mountbatten Isle of Wight. Paul Cox, event director, says, "We're thrilled to host Proms 25 at Robin Hill, a beloved island venue which offers the perfect backdrop for a summer evening of proms and picnicking. This support we receive from Robin Hill team has been second to none, and I'm delighted to partner with them on this event." Proms 25 will still see the esteemed Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra take to the stage to deliver a rousing performance of Proms classics from Elgar to Tchaikovsky. Showcasing brilliant local talent, the event will also feature accomplished soprano Thea Callahan and the Medina Community Choir, fresh from their appearance in New York's prestigious Carnegie Hall. Guests can expect a full evening of entertainment, delicious food and drink from local vendors, and a spectacular fireworks finale, all set within Robin Hill's 88 acres of open parkland. All existing ticket and hamper bookings will automatically be transferred across to Proms 25 at Robin Hill. However, full refunds are available upon request for those unable to attend the new location. Ticket holders are asked to direct requests to info@proms25.com.
Good morning, I'm John.
And I'm Mary.
Now we have news items and sport. 2/3 of patient feedback on health and care and negative by Rufus Pickles. Almost 2/3 of recent feedback on the island's health and social care services is negative, according to a report from the Isle of Wight's health watchdog. Further issues when trying to get a GP appointment, a lack of support for people with diabetes, and struggles accessing NHS dentistry were key issues highlighted in Healthwatch Isle of Wight's April 13th to May 12th intelligence report. Overall, residents' responses were 61% negative, that's 196 responses, 36% positive, 116 responses, and 3% mixed or neutral, 9 responses. Feedback the previous month in the Watchdog's March 13th to April 12th report was 45% negative, 196 responses, 48% positive, 210 responses, and 7% mixed or neutral, 31 responses. One islander told Healthwatch, "I was registered with an NHS dentist for years. Appointment cancelled, then told emergencies only, and then dentist closed for good." Another said, "I had waited a month for this appointment. I got to my appointment on time and waited half an hour to be seen. I felt like the doctor couldn't get rid of me quick enough." A spokesperson for NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight said, "We would like to thank Healthwatch Isle of Wight for sharing this report and for all they're doing to give local people on the island a voice on these very important healthcare issues. We are pleased that island residents have felt that there are more positive changes being made on the Isle of Wight as we work together alongside our partners and NHS provider trusts to ensure the best care possible, but there is still more to do. The past 2 years has seen NHS dental access improve, GP appointments have risen, and we have launched more collaborative ways of working with our community services. Dental practices are paid a higher rate to address some of the geographical challenges, and there are plans to further increase access. GP appointments have seen record highs, and while we understand that not every patient will experience these positive steps directly, We are continually striving to ensure the NHS is delivering the best care for everyone.
Roads' impact on community firm. A community-run business has spoken out about the impact recent road closures have had on its trade and asked for continued local support. Care in the Garden, a social care retail enterprise based on Lushington Hill in Wootton, has been battling financial pressures following a series of roadworks in the area. The nursery, which supports adults with additional needs through work placements in horticulture and craftsmanship, has seen footfall and sales drop significantly. John Goodenough, manager of Care in the Garden, posted a heartfelt message to customers on the business's Facebook page, expressing both gratitude and concern. What roads close next? For 3 months, Park Road runs at the bottom of our nursery was closed, then Bridlesford Road, Lushington Hill, and it goes on, he said. It's been difficult the last 3 months. It must have been for a lot of businesses out there. We're no different. Because we're a community company, we suffer the same hardships as anybody else. Believe you me, maybe more. John voiced frustration at what he sees as a double hit to small enterprises, rising costs and limited access. The government imposes financial pressures on small businesses, and along comes the council and closes roads, which puts even more financial pressures on small businesses, he added. As the summer season approaches, and with the Isle of Wight Festival just around the corner, John acknowledged the unwavering support of loyal customers. Here we are now, coming out to the middle of June, he said. The festival is only a week away, and so far we've survived it all, and I've only got you guys to thank. You're tremendous, you are the best. While sales have been lower than expected, John hopes upcoming deals and special offers will encourage shoppers to return. Sales haven't been what we had hoped, but we will be doing some of our usual special offers. Some of Honest John's deals of the month, deals of the week. Please stay tuned. Supporting us, you are supporting social care. Together we can start to continue to improve people's lives.
Couple died after car plummeted off cliff top by Zach Saunders. A couple died after their car plummeted over a 300-foot cliff at the Needles Beauty Spot. John King, 67, and his wife Lynn King, 66, from Arctic Road in Cowes, were in their silver Ford Mondeo when it left Allen Bay New Road last Friday night. The car came off the cliff top and came to rest in the water below. The couple's 2 dachshunds also died. A multiple agency response took place involving police, fire, coast guard and lifeboat crews. The couple's family said they are devastated and numbed from the loss. Mr. King had been a network driver for Southern Vectis for 2.5 years and had left the company earlier this year. A County Press reader said, I worked with Mr. King years ago at Southern Vectis, then he left, and I heard he came back. He used to do a lot of late turns, so people on the nighttime buses would likely know of him. He was an experienced driver, so I was very shocked to hear what happened. Tributes have also been paid to the couple on social media. Neighbours described the pair as a nice couple. One told the Mail Online, on Friday afternoon, sometime between 4 p.m. and 4:45 p.m, I saw John walk past my window. He was helping his wife to the car. Their 2 dachshund dogs were with them. His wife looked really, really frail. She was hunched over quite badly and was finding it very difficult to walk. I was surprised to see her out of the house. That was the last time I saw them. They never came home. Police said inquiries remain ongoing to establish the full circumstances, and the matter has been passed to the coroner's office. A Hampshire Constabulary spokesperson said, "We can confirm the death of 2 people, a woman and a man, aged 66 and 67 respectively, following an incident at the Needles on the Isle of Wight on Friday, June the 6th. We were called at 7:21 p.m. after a Ford Mondeo, which was being driven along Allen Bay New Road, left the road, came to the cliff top and came to rest in the water below. 2 dogs, both Dachshunds, were also in the car and died in the incident. Formal identification procedures are ongoing, but next of kin have been notified. As part of the ongoing investigation into the incident, which has been referred to the coroner, officers have been carrying out inquiries at an address on Arctic Road, Cowes, to help them to establish what happened. A post-mortem examination took place on Tuesday.
Memo hints Isle of Wight may yet be spared council merger. The government has not ruled out the Isle of Wight Council remaining a unitary authority in a new memo to local authority leaders. Whitehall has welcomed additional thinking on the Isle of Wight's exceptional circumstances in feedback at a local government reorganisation, LGR plan. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government responded to a March 21st interim LGR plan submitted by Hampshire and Solent councils, prepared after Local Government Minister John McMahon invited the authorities to prepare LGR proposals on February the 5th. In December last year, the government unveiled sweeping plans to shake up local government across England. They include 2 distinct but related policy packages, moving powers and funding from Whitehall to England's regions by creating strategic authorities with elected mayors and ending the 2-tier system of county and district local councils, with new unitary authorities covering populations of at least 500,000. The Hampshire and Solent Council's interim plan made the case for the Isle of Wight Council remaining a separate unitary authority due to its exceptional circumstances. This is despite the island's population being forecast to be 148,000 by 2028, well under the 500,000 figure. The plan said, as the physical boundary to the island remains, the opportunities to reduce fixed costs and make procurement efficiencies and estate rationalisations are limited. No model of local government reorganisation will address challenges regarding the tax base and financial sustainability of the island, whilst balancing and adding further challenge to the delivery of services from a geographical and financial perspective. Furthermore, Isle of Wight residents possess a distinct cultural identity which does not necessarily align with mainland residents. The government's feedback said, "We welcome the additional thinking conducted regarding the Isle of Wight. If pursuing this option, it would be helpful to build on the existing rationale and provide a full assessment against each criterion in your final proposals." Responding to Whitehall's feedback, an Isle of Wight Council spokesman said, "We welcome the recognition of the Isle of Wight's unique circumstances and the encouragement to further develop the rationale for the island within any future proposals. We remain committed to constructive dialogue with the local authorities across Hampshire, Southampton and Portsmouth and government to ensure the best outcomes for our residents. The deadline for final LGR proposals is September the 26th.
Family may have to part with crowing cockerels by Liam Chorley. It's like breaking up a family. Those are the words of Haven Street resident Kirsty Haler, whose family is distraught at the prospect of losing their beloved pet cockerels. Their concerns come after a noise complaint was submitted and an abatement notice was served. The Main Road family is worried they will soon be left with just two options: to rehome their two cockerels, Salty and Pepper, or have them put down. It all started with an anonymous post on the Haven Street Community Facebook group, a sarcastic comment asking if anyone was bothered by the sound of cockerels waking them up in the morning, said Kirsty. Everybody who replied said, "No, isn't it great? Better than the traffic, better than the hooligans," and so on, and the post was removed. Kirsty sought reassurance from her immediate neighbours, who told her the cockerels were not a problem, only to later receive a letter from Environmental Health telling her they were going to investigate. An Environmental Health officer visited and explained how sound equipment would be installed in the complainant's flat to monitor the noise levels. The next thing we knew, an abatement notice was posted through our door. The council has skipped the appeals process and gone straight to judgment. It's all become a bit farcical. I've tried to be sympathetic and we're willing to make changes. Kirsty's husband Paul said, "Any council leaflet tells you to reduce the time they come out and to keep them inside. All the stuff we've done. We've asked what else can we do, and they just seem to ignore us. The law they're enforcing isn't really appropriate for animal noise and doesn't seem to consider the location. If you can't keep cockerels in Haven Street, where can you keep them? The daft thing is, if we were in London, they wouldn't be seen as a nuisance because the background noise is louder. If it was a dog that was possibly going to be put to sleep, there would be outrage," said Kirsty. "They're our pets, and our two autistic sons are really attached to them. One of our sons is like the chicken whisperer. He dotes on them. I'm concerned about the impact the trauma of losing them will have on him." The Isle of Wight Council has declined to comment because it is an active investigation.
Parents hit with over 1,800 fines for school absences. More than 1,800 fines have been issued to parents and guardians on the Isle of Wight in the past year for their children's unauthorised absences from school, new figures show. A Freedom of Information (FOI) request submitted to the Isle of Wight Council reveals that between March the 1st, 2024 and March the 1st, 2025, a total of 1,831 truancy penalty notices were handed out across the island. Truancy penalty notices are issued when a child misses school without a valid reason and is unauthorised. Under government guidelines, each parent can be fined £60 per child per absence, with the amount doubling to £120 if not paid within 21 days. Those who fail to pay may face prosecution. Over the 12 months, the fines generated £112,120 in revenue for the Isle of Wight Council. In addition to the financial penalties, 47 parents or guardians were taken to court for persistent unauthorised absences. Responding to the figures, a council spokesman said, "The Isle of Wight Council is committed to supporting regular school attendance and working in partnership with families, schools and other agencies to ensure every child has access to their full educational entitlement." The majority of truancy penalty notices issued over the past year have related to unauthorised term time holidays. These are only issued where leave has not been authorised by the school and the absence does not meet the criteria for exceptional circumstances. Where unauthorised absences are not related to holidays, the Isle of Wight Council is committed to working with families to understand the underlying issues and provide appropriate support. We recognise that there can be complex and varied reasons why some children may struggle to attend regularly. In a small number of cases, legal action is taken where persistent unauthorised absence continues despite support and engagement efforts. This is always a last resort. We continue to work closely with schools and partners to promote good attendance and reduce the need for enforcement, focusing on early intervention and supportive approaches.
Concern over dwindling number of red squirrels. Concern is growing over a decline in the number of red squirrel sightings on the island. Homeowners with garden squirrels are reporting fewer visits, or even saying their squirrels have disappeared altogether. White Squirrel Project, which monitors red squirrels, said sightings are much lower than normal this year, and even the number of squirrels killed on the roads has fallen. Although this should be a good thing, the project said it is actually a sign of fewer squirrels. A spokesperson said it's normal for squirrel visits to gardens to halve when females have young, but we are past the time of the first litter. If there is a lot of natural food about, squirrels will disappear from gardens too. Normally, May to July is the time of food shortage and costing people who feed squirrels a fortune. There is a glut of oak apples this spring, which could account for some decrease in garden visits, but not fewer roadkills. The project is asking islanders to monitor and report red squirrel sightings. To report sightings of red squirrels, head to www.whitesquirrels.co.uk or email whitesquirrels@hotmail.com or phone 01983 611 003.
Multiple fire crews battle cottage blaze. A fire ripped through a cottage in Haven Street overnight on Wednesday, causing significant damage. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service was called to the semi-detached property on Comberley Road at 10:45 p.m. The residents were evacuated and taken to hospital. The road also had to be closed while firefighters tackled the blaze. At the height of the fire, crews from Cowes, Newport, Ryde, Shanklin and Ventnor were all called. A spokesman for the fire service said, firefighters used hose reel jets to bring the fire under control, which had taken hold on both the ground and first floors of the building. The property has sadly sustained significant damage, and we will remain on scene for some time to dampen down hot spots. The cause of the fire is currently unknown.
Petition backing hospice gets 5,000 signatures. More than 5,000 people and counting have signed a petition in support of Mountbatten, Isle of Wight. The charity is facing a 1.4 million funding cut in 2026-27, and the petition calls on health leaders to urgently rethink the decision. The cuts, announced by the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care Board, ICB, represent a 40% reduction in funding for the hospice. The ICB has also decided to cut a further £600,000 from the hospice's budget this autumn. A spokesperson for Mountbatten said they are asking people on the Isle of Wight to take action to save our hospice as we know it by writing to NHS commissioners, Healthwatch and our MPs. Sign it here, change.org/p//stop-nhs-cash-cuts-to-Mountbatten-Isle-of-Wight. The hospice receives about 1/3 of its funding from the ICB, which distributes NHS money to healthcare providers on the island. The remaining 2/3 comes from community donations, fundraising, charity shops and gifts in wills. Mountbatten Isle of Wight provides 24/7 end-of-life care in patients' homes, its inpatient unit and the John Cheverton Centre, offering day, outpatient and rehabilitation services. The ICB has said the funding cut is part of a broader reallocation of resources, with some hospices in Hampshire set to receive increased funding.
Council officer accused over voting advice. An Isle of Wight councillor has accused County Hall's monitoring officer of giving unlawful advice on last month's chair vote, but the council insists the constitution was followed. Councillor Peter Spink, who represents Freshwater North and Yarmouth, said there is a wealth of evidence that Francis Fernandez advice to Councillor Carl Love, the councillor's former chair, that he should leave the chamber during the chair vote at the May 21st full council meeting was wrong in law. The meeting saw the election of the Alliances Group's Councillor Ian Dorr as the local authority's new chair, with 19 councillors voting in favour of him and 17 backing the incumbent. Before the vote, Mr Fernandez said, "If there is a nomination for a sitting chair, then there is a case law that suggests that that nomination is void. Under the Local Government Act, the chair in a meeting must preside. That's a requirement. So that's why we asked the chair to leave. Otherwise, if the chair was here, they need to preside, and they couldn't preside because any nomination for them would be void. That is a strong legal position." Councillor Spink told the press, "Prior to the meeting of full council on May the 21st, the council chair was advised by the monitoring officer that he should not preside or vote in the election of a new chair. The chair accepted this advice in good faith and left the chamber. There is a wealth of evidence, however, that this advice was wrong in law. We all make mistakes, but what is concerning is that over 2 weeks later, the monitoring officer is still researching the matter. It is par for the course, in my experience, for the council to kick such matters into the long grass in the hope that they will be forgotten. I'm sorry to say that they usually are." He added, "The correct action for the council to take would be to rehold the meeting." A spokesman for the Isle of Wight Council said, "The constitution was followed and the then chair was asked not to participate in his own election. There have been challenges about that was the correct procedure, and the issue is being considered internally."
Museum Fatberg takes to the road. The Isle of Wight's National Poo Museum has presented a quirky gift to Southern Water, a mounted fatberg cast in resin. A fatberg is a solid rock-like mass which forms in sewer systems due to a combination of congealed grease, oil and non-biodegradable materials like wet wipes. Dan Roberts, curator at the museum, said, "Southern Water very kindly gifted 2 pieces of fatberg to the museum years ago, and they fascinated visitors to the museum. The Unflushables team asked if we could cast another piece of fatberg in resin for their educational demonstrations. However, while the fatberg was being dried, mice got in and ate the whole thing. So we decided to share one of the exhibits from our exhibition instead. As we're now becoming a mobile exhibition, we thought nobody really needs more than 1 fatberg. The National Poo Museum is hitting the road, and its first tour is at Department in Ryde in early July. Tim Eaton, part of the Blockage Busters team at Southern Water, said, "Our Unflushables team will take the Fatberg on tour at events where we raise awareness of the consequences of putting fats, oils and greases down the drain."
Man spat at police officer after row with girlfriend. A man who spat at a police officer and used a homophobic slur to a stranger concerned for his welfare has been sentenced. Daniel Hardy of Honey Hill, Newport, appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates on Wednesday, June the 4th. At a previous hearing in April, the 23-year-old admitted using threatening, abusive and insulting words and behaviour in Newport on September the 19th last year. He also admitted to assaulting a police officer by beating during the early hours of September the 20th and assaulting a woman by beating in Cowes on October the 14th. In April, Liz Miller, prosecuting, said, staff at the Hogshead pub in Newport flagged down police, telling them that Hardy was causing trouble. An officer heard Hardy call a man, unknown to him, a homophobic slur. Hardy tried to walk away from the officer, kicking a shop window in the process, but was arrested. While being kept in a police van, due to a queue being booked into custody at Newport Police Station, Hardy started banging his head on the door. Made to sit down, he spat at the officer, with his spittle landing on his thigh. For Hardy, Oscar Vincent said his client had been without a friend and was heavily intoxicated, which led him to vomiting. While he was being sick, he made the homophobic comment to a man checking on his welfare. Mr. Vincent said, the words were used in a jocular manner, believing it was a friend, rather than them being used to cause upset. While feeling nauseous, he spat, but it is unintentionally struck the officer. Regarding the October the 14th incident, Hardy was reportedly having a row with his girlfriend in Cowes. Police found them in a bus shelter in Terminus Road. He told officers they had an argument, which led to him pushing her into a hedge. Hardy was made subject of a 20-month community order to include 15 rehabilitation days and 100 hours of unpaid work. He was ordered to pay £150 compensation, costs of £85 and £114 surcharge.
Plans for homes near old train station. 5 high-quality houses could be built beside a former train station. Applicants Stratton and Rubban have sought permission to construct 5 homes classed as market housing, along with an access road, garages, parking and landscaping on land next to Station House on Station Road in St Helens. The development would make a significant contribution to addressing the housing supply shortage, their agent, the Andrew White Planning Consultancy, has said. It would comprise 2 two-bedroom semi-detached houses, 2 four-bedroomed houses, and another with 3 bedrooms. A planning statement from the consultancy says the new homes would be designed to a high quality, and there would be a range of unit types and sizes. The density, scale, and general arrangement of properties would be commensurate with the character and appearance of the surrounding area. The development would make a significant financial contribution towards affordable housing and would also mitigate its cumulative impacts on the Solent Special Protection Area by making a separate financial contribution towards the Bird Aware scheme. The Council's public consultation on application 25/00779/FUL finishes on July 4th, and a decision is expected on July 28th.
New ferry scepticism. The Isle of Wight East MP has criticised Red Funnel's new electric ferry prototype, calling it unproven and potentially unsuitable for Solent conditions. The comments, posted on Joe Robertson's Facebook page, follow a public demonstration of the new vessel. The event showcased a smaller-scale prototype of the Artemis EF-24 passenger ferry, designed to operate using zero-emission hydrofoil technology, which will carry 150 passengers. Red Funnel has described the ferry as a game-changer, claiming it could offer quieter, faster and more comfortable crossings. CEO Fran Collins said it is expected to be even more reliable than the current Red Jet fleet, which she claimed already operates consistently at 99% reliability. Mr. Robertson did not attend the event to see the prototype and was instead represented by former councillor Susie Ellis, who now works for his team. Isle of Wight West MP Richard Quigley was in attendance. Mr. Robertson has since expressed strong scepticism about the ferry's potential performance in Solent waters. He posted, "The little white boat is supposed to be the prototype to Red Funnel's new fleet of passenger ferries. It is an experimental foiling boat that runs on a battery and has never been put into service before. Apparently, the actual boat will be bigger, but one has never been built, so this is all they can show us. I am sceptical whether it will actually work in the swell we often get mid-Solent. The galleon behind it looks more reliable." He also accused Red Funnel of neglecting its core car ferry service. Rather than trying to solve the world's carbon emissions with this battery boat, Red Funnel should be replacing their old, unreliable car ferry fleet with tried and tested rugged technology and bring prices down for passengers, Mr. Robertson said. At the event, Ms. Collins defended the innovation and emphasised Red Funnel's commitment to both reliability and environmental responsibility. "This is a 3-year trial, so we bring the vessel down, do the crew training and start to introduce her to service," she said. "With this technology, it's electric motor, so we expect it to be even more reliable." She added that plans for new vehicle ferries had been fully scoped and could proceed once additional investment is secured. The Artemis is expected to come into service in early 2026.
Newport Minster inviting islanders to dig into family archives from the Isle of Wight radio. As part of the ongoing National Lottery Heritage funded project, the team at Newport Minster are working on a new exhibition. The exhibition will focus on births, deaths and marriage. The exhibition will be launched in September as part of Newport Heritage Day. "We would love to share some of the stories of these big life events as part of the exhibition," says Hannah Griffiths, Community Engagement Coordinator. "We would like to feature images of weddings, baptisms and even funerals at Newport Minster /STS Thomas Church as part of the exhibition and would love you to feature your pictures in this new exhibition. As well as photographs, the Minster team would like to interview people who were married at St Thomas, had their children christened, or said goodbye to family in the space. We would like to create an oral history archive of the people of the church for future generations," says Jodie Whitten, Volunteer Exhibitions Assistant. "If you would like to find out more or send in your photos, please contact Hannah at cec@cofeheart.org or call 07563 247758.
Locals trapped by prison bollards. Concrete bollards near the Isle of Wight prison have sparked frustration among nearby residents who say they have been trapped inside the Horsebridge Hill works now the access route is blocked. The bollards, 4 large concrete blocks, have been positioned at the bottom of Rook Street in Newport, cutting off access to an unnamed road that runs alongside Her Majesty's Prison, Parkhurst, and connects to Lonsdale Avenue, roughly 200 metres away. The installation has drawn backlash from residents of Nicholson Street, Miller's Close and Rook Street, who spoke out at a public meeting held at the Stag Inn last month. While not a major thoroughfare, locals argue the link road had become a crucial alternative route amid heavy traffic caused by ongoing infrastructure works nearby. Residents complain that their daily commutes have become significantly longer since the access point was blocked. They described the Horsebridge Hill works as disruptive, particularly because their junction onto Newport Road is located in the active constructive zone. As a result, they are forced to follow the long diversion route via Whitehouse Road through to Cowes just to return home. Some residents speculated the bollards were installed by the Ministry of Justice, MOJ, to prevent the road from being used as a rat run during the roadworks, but were disappointed by the lack of community consultation. In response to public frustration, the Isle of Wight Council clarified that it had no involvement in the decision to install the bollards. The land in question is owned by the Ministry of Justice, MOJ, a council spokesman said. It was not the Isle of Wight Council's request to install bollards, and it is still not related to the Horsebridge Hill works. It is believed to be part of the security measures for the prison to prevent hostile vehicle manoeuvres. The Ministry of Justice confirmed the bollards were added on private land it owns and maintained that security concerns were the driving factor. A spokesman said, "As you would expect, it is vital that the land is clear for security reasons. These measures were made following careful consideration and relevant assessments. While the MOJ says security is paramount, residents argue that the timing and effect of the closure could not be worse."
Second Conservative club set to close. A town centre Conservative Party club is to close amid financial difficulties. Newport Conservative Club, based on Pyle Street, is to cease trading on Sunday, June the 15th. In a letter to members, the club secretary confirmed the decision with deepest regret. "We have been advised by the Association of Conservative Clubs that it will be unwise to continue trading," the letter said. Continuing financial difficulties is being blamed. A special meeting was held for members on Wednesday night. Newport's Hub is the second Conservative club to shut on the island in recent times. East Cowes Conservative Club closed its doors in September last year.
Cowes Company rolls out electric vehicle fleet. A refrigeration company is helping clear the air by going green on the road. Vectis Refrigeration Limited, based in Cowes, has begun transitioning its fleet to electric vans with the help of the Isle of Wight-based vehicle consulting Solent. The move supports the company's ongoing commitment to environmental sustainability and reducing its carbon footprint. Will Overton, founder and director of Vectis Refrigeration, said, "We've always aimed to be a future-focused company. Switching to electric vehicles is a natural extension of our values. It's about doing our part to protect the environment while continuing to deliver outstanding service. We're especially pleased to have partnered with a local business like Vehicle Consulting Solent, whose expertise and support are key in making this transition a success. The new electric vans will help lower operational emissions." Paul Thorley, Director of Vehicle Consulting Solent, said, "We are thrilled to support Vectis Refrigeration on their journey towards electrification. It's fantastic to see a local Isle of Wight business leading the way in adopting electric vehicles into their business. Our team worked hard to identify the right electric vehicles to meet their specific needs, discussing all options, and we look forward to seeing these vans in action across the island." Vectis Refrigeration already has a strong track record in sustainable practice, using natural and Isle of Wight GWP refrigerants and energy-efficient technology. The addition of electric vehicles strengthens its reputation as a leader in environmentally responsible building services. The company said it also demonstrates how technical excellence and sustainability can work together in the trade sector. Vehicle Consulting Solent has more than a decade of experience in electric and low-emission fleets and works with businesses across the Isle of Wight and South Coast. Vectis Refrigeration was established in 2015 and provides refrigeration, air conditioning, heat pump solutions and refrigerated trailer hire. The company is REF COM Elite certified, reflecting its commitment to high standards and environmental responsibility.
Director accused of £500,000 bank fraud. The sole director of an Isle of Wight scaffolding company is accused of defrauding the business he owned by transferring over £500,000 from the company's account to his own personal bank account. Brandon Paul Smith of Weeks Road Ryde appeared before Portsmouth magistrates on June the 5th. The 59-year-old is charged with 2 counts of fraud by abuse of position between April 1st, 2019 and June 22nd, 2020. He is accused of dishonestly abusing his position with the intent to make a gain, namely by transferring the sum of £556,978 from the bank account of First Choice Scaffolding into his own personal bank account. He is also accused of making a false representation to Santander to make a gain, namely a loan for himself. He's also charged with 2 counts of failing to preserve the company's accounting records between April 1st, 2019 and July 2nd, 2020, and acting as company director without leave of the court. Between May 27th and July the 3rd, 2020, he's accused of acting as First Choice Scaffolding's director while disqualified, after being declared bankrupt. Mr. Smith's case was adjourned to June 26. First Choice Scaffolding was based in Haven Street and dissolved in 2022 following liquidation.
Days gone by. 125 years ago in June 1900, the Royal Isle of Wight Agricultural Society advertised its forthcoming show, the 19th of its kind. The show, held annually at Northwood, was described as still alive and kicking. A rare sight was witnessed in Newport High Street when a swarm of bees settled near Guildhall, hanging in a large cluster over the sunblind of Messrs. A.M. Chiverton & Co. Cycle Depot. The bees were the object of much curiosity until they were safely taken by Mr. A. Newnham. 75 years ago, in June 1950, neighbours carried furniture to safety and provided shelter for 2 families when fire destroyed thatched cottages in Wellow. Firemen from Newport, Yarmouth and Freshwater were in attendance at the blaze, which was believed to have originated from an oil stove. 50 years ago, in June 1975, 50 firemen were called to fight a blaze at Osborne House when a blaze broke out in a 2-storey block on the west side of the building. 7 appliances from Newport East Cowes, Ryde and Shanklin attended the fire, which caused superficial damage to the Durbar room. Summerfield's County Primary School, which cost $125,500 to build, was officially opened by R. Davey, Professor of Educational Psychology at University College Cardiff. The school took its first pupils in September 1974.
Lifeblood River, Still at Heart of Island Life by David White. The River Medina, as we know it, is the island's chief river, and as such has a wealth of history. It was during the Roman period that it started to achieve importance, but the heyday of the Medina had to be from the Victorian era up to the 1970s. Here I would like to compare the Medina's industrial past and its present as a leisure destination, yacht harbour and semi-industrial area. The Medina was a somewhat quieter area in the early days, but towards the end of the Victorian period, along with Cowes, it became the chief point of goods importation. Many industrial sites were situated along its length from Cowes, the port of entry to the capital of Newport, and this would have been the lifeline of imported goods, helping to alleviate the island roads of congestion and the pollution that we see today. Both the railways and riverboat fleet managed to achieve this during that period of time, coal, cement, grain, wood and fuel being just some of the materials. A major area of imports would have been Newport Quay, which over the period of the 20th century had rapidly developed into a buzzing hive of activity. Often boats would be moored two abreast, waiting to be offloaded by some of the many dockers. During its later years, the river fleet mostly had come under the banner of the British Road Services, the ships having a collection of connecting names, such as Tally-Ho, the Whip, the Hunt, and MFH, Master of Foxhounds, being just some of the names. You also had the river's well-known characters, like Les Chiverton, who ran a second-hand car sales operation, and of course Harbour Master Wayne Pritchett, one of the best authorities on the river, of which he held possibly the largest collection of stories and photographs. Today, the Medina is mostly about leisure boating, although a few industries still use its waters, such as fuel, aggregate suppliers and wind turbine manufacturers. If you visit its banks, you may still see relics of its past. This month, the banks of the river will host the Isle of Wight Festival, now a major fixture in the river's annual calendar.
My view. Desperation Search for Inspiration and Ladybirds by Jane Stevenson, columnist. It's been an awkward couple of weeks recently. I have copy deadlines for this and another magazine, yet not a flicker of imagination or opinion on anything that is remotely interesting to write about. I know it's unimportant within real life, but my first world problems, such as we all experience sometimes, have assumed a greater importance than they deserve. The reasons for my lack of focus comes down to a few things, including my garden, my underwear drawer and the dreaded writer's block. When we moved, the garden was the least of our worries. A leaky roof, split valley gutter, crumbling chimney and a seized shower all needed repairing, major surgery or replacing. Gardening was a hobby I couldn't give any time to. However, late last year I set about trying to sort it out. Initially, I had the fanciful idea of creating an outdoor room, so beloved of the high-end ladies' magazines. Somewhere I could sit quietly, preferably under a gazebo of clematis, sipping green tea and admiring my roses. That was never going to happen. A dodgy knee makes any digging or kneeling impossible, but I have managed to introduce a flower bed and a small vegetable area and am pleased with my results. Unfortunately, My other half couldn't tell a weed from a wisteria, so he's better left out of horticultural decisions, and I think he secretly prefers it that way. Now I've noticed the dreaded aphid population has taken up residence. I've yet to see any ladybirds this year, a natural predator who would eat the little blighters for me. I don't want to use chemicals on my plants, so I spent hours trawling the internet for solutions. The advice was even more confusing. Some experts recommend leaving them, while others suggest branded pest killers. Another suggestion was to plant certain types of herbs nearby, which deter them from reproducing. From all this investigation, I learned one fact. Aphids are always female, so is there no need for male aphids. Sounds harsh to me, but perhaps they are only fully liberated female species. I decided to go green and control my aphids naturally. Armed with washing up liquid and a squirty bottle, I've been spraying them. That's not working either. Girl power has won. Adding to my woes is the state of my underwear drawer. While looking for lost socks to pair up, I found a pair of knickers that had been seen better days. Further rummaging for the missing socks revealed even more problems. Socks with holes in them, a bra wire, no idea where the bra is, and further knicker abuse. Sagging elastic and the occasional hole being the main problem. So, should you bump into a tall woman poking around their lingerie rails in Marks or Asda next week, it's probably me. On a brighter note, the writer's block seems to be lifting merely by writing this. It's good therapy for me and hopefully raises a smile with you.
Good news for the island locally and nationally from Richard Quigley, Member of Parliament for Isle of Wight West. As you may have seen, the recent spending review highlights this government's determination not only to drive economic growth, but also to protect the most vulnerable in our society. Many of you will have seen the government confirmed on June the 5th that children whose parents receive universal credit will now be eligible for free school meals. This is expected to lift around 100,000 children out of poverty nationwide, including an estimated 7,530 children on the island. That means thousands more island children will arrive at school ready to learn. While we're on the topic of recent announcements, many of you will be aware of the decision to reinstate the winter fuel allowance for 3/4 of pensioners. This is a decision I welcome. Some may call it a U-turn, but I see it as a government listening. Most agree it should be means tested, ensuring support goes to those who truly need it, not those who can afford without it. With stronger than expected economic growth in early 2025, it's right that the Treasury has extended eligibility, but fairness and fiscal responsibility must remain central. I was especially pleased to see the immediate ban on unfair bonuses for Southern Water's senior executives. Despite discharging 17,340 hours worth of sewage along our coastline, they were awarded an estimated $5.4 million in bonuses over the past decade. Throughout the 2024 election and since becoming an MP, I've heard from countless islanders who are not only outraged by the pollution, but by the rewarding of failure. It is absolutely right that those responsible for environmental harm now face real consequences. Accountability must be more than a slogan, it must be enforced. With the countdown to the Isle of Wight Festival on, you'll be pleased to know the current diversion on Horsebridge Hill will be lifted over the festival weekend. So from 8 p.m. on Tuesday, June 17th until 6 a.m. on Tuesday, June 24th, journey times should be helped. I know how much the diversion has impacted on residents, commuters and businesses alike, and serious lessons need to be learned. To end on a positive, I had the pleasure of being invited to Robin Hill to see what Lee Priddle and team have done with the park since taking it on and opening earlier in April. Although it's not on my side of the island, Robin Hill's a family favourite, and talking to Lee, I'm confident it will continue to draw in islanders and visitors alike. Their investment in the park, increased offering to customers, and commitment to building a year-round experience is really encouraging and demonstrates they know what their customers want. It also demonstrates that sustainable growth on the island isn't just a dream, it's already happening. I'd recommend it to anyone who hasn't visited since it reopened.
Public information. Changes to council services during Isle of Wight Festival from Isle of Wight Radio. While the Isle of Wight Festival is taking place from Friday 20th of June to Sunday the 22nd of June, some council services are affected. Sea Close Office Newport. Sea Close Office Newport will be closed from 12 midday on Thursday the 19th of June, partially reopening to the public from 8:30 on Monday 23rd of June, depending on the service required, and fully open to the public from 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday the 24th of June. Anyone attending this office between Monday the 16th of June and Thursday the 19th of June is only advised to do it if strictly necessary. Parking during this period only will be at the entrance to Sea Close Park on the grassed area. Register Office. The Isle of Wight Council's Register Office Marriage Room will temporarily move to Penty Hall in Newport during the festival. From Friday the 20th of June until close of business on Saturday the 21st of June, all civil ceremonies will be held at County Hall, High Street, Newport. The civil ceremonies will be back at Sea Close Park from Monday the 23rd of June. The Register's Sea Close offices will be closed from face-to-face appointments from 12 midday on Thursday the 19th of June and all day Friday the 20th of June and Saturday the 21st of June. All birth, death, marriage notices and further information telephone inquiries will continue to be handled via the existing number 823 233. Coroner's Office. The Coroner's Office will be closed to face-to-face appointments from Thursday the 19th of June and will reopen on Tuesday the 24th of June due to the Isle of Wight Festival. There will be no site access to the office during this period.
Telephone inquiries will continue to be handled via the existing number 01983 823 010 during this period. Crematorium. The crematorium will be operating its usual opening hours over the weekend of Saturday 21st of June, i.e. 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Grounds remain open at all times. Leisure Centre / Theatre. Customers are advised that One Leisure Medina will be closed for the duration of the Isle of Wight Festival from 2 p.m. Thursday 19th of June and will reopen at 6 a.m. on Monday 23rd of June. Westridge at Ryde and the Heights Sandown will be open as normal throughout this period. Swimming lessons at Medina are cancelled from Wednesday 18th of June to Saturday 21st of June. The lessons will resume on Monday 23rd of June. For further information, please email medinaleisure@isleofwight.gov.uk or telephone 01983 823 880. Waste Services. No changes will be made to the collection day of your waste or recycling. Please ensure all waste is out by 7 a.m. That's 6:30 a.m. for Fairley Road residents on the day of collection, as routes may be changed due to roads being affected by traffic diversions. Newport Cemetery. There will be no public access to Newport Cemetery via the Fairley Road gates. All public access to the cemetery is via the steps on the quay, and this will continue during the festival period. There will be limited parking for blue badge holders only. The cemetery will be fenced off, and visitors are asked to please listen and cooperate with security, ensuring the area is kept safe and restrict access to genuine visitors only.
What's on? Wednesday the 25th of June. Jane Austen, Naval Connections and Holidays by the Sea. A talk at 2 p.m, £3. Jane Austen, Naval Connections and Holidays by the Sea. A talk by Helen Howe of the Jane Austen Society at the Lord Louis Library, 44 Orchard Street, Newport. Lord Louis Library at iow.gov.uk 01983 823 823. Thursday the 26th of June. Stretch and move with Suki at 11 a.m. Get ready to feel energised, loosen up those joints and stretch your muscles to feeling great. Whether seated or standing, this class is designed for everyone. All abilities welcome. The Old School Wooden Bridge, hello at the oldschoolcentre.org 01983 882 820. Friday the 27th of June. Astronomy talk, We Are Stardust at 7:30 p.m, cost £2.50. We Are Stardust is one of the most astonishing stories in science, how all the raw materials from which we are made were created in stars. The incredible process and brilliant people who found out. New Church Sandown, Simon Gardner 344 at gmail.com 01983 522 693. Saturday the 28th of June. Focus Fest at the Wild Heart Animal Sanctuary at 9:30 a.m, £2.50 to £5, 28th of June to the 29th of June. If you want to learn more about science, our planet and how you can make a difference, then Focus Fest is for you. Wild Heart Animal Sanctuary, Isle of Wight, Yaverland Road, Sandown. Marketing at wildheartanimalsanctuary.org 01983 403 883. Lewis Denny at 9 p.m, Whitecliff Bay Holiday Park, Bembridge. Sunday the 29th of June. Phoenix Saxophone Orchestra at 2 p.m. Afternoon concert, Ralston Gardens, 11 Popham Road, Shanklin.
Forthcoming events at Shanklin Theatre. Today, Friday the 13th of June at 8 p.m, Mark Steele. Tuesday 24th of June, 7:30 p.m, Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. Friday 27th and Saturday 28th of June at 7 p.m, Island Dance and Theatre. Thursdays from the 3rd of July until Thursdays 9th of October at 8:15 p.m, Beyond the West End. Saturday 5th to Tuesday 8th of July, Footloose the Musical. Also, the new summer brochure is now out. The box office for Shanklin Theatre is 01983 868 000, or you can book online at www.shanklintheatre.com.
Letters, campaigns by Maggie Nelms, Isle of Wight branch of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Most people are appalled at seeing day after day month after month, on their screens the Israeli army's killing and injuring of civilians in Gaza, mostly children. For several months, Israel has blocked aid, water, food and medicines into Gaza, causing death by dehydration and starvation, and leaving diseases, wounds and serious medical conditions untreatable. We cannot comprehend how our government can still be licensing exports of components to Israel for assembly into weapons, including bomber aircraft and general military equipment. Shock, anger and frustrations are natural reactions to the atrocities we witness. We feel powerless to stop the genocide. No wonder some people avoid watching the news to protect themselves. But there is another, far healthier way to deal with our distress and help bring an end to these atrocities. Joining a group and campaigning helps to alleviate frustration and channel our strong emotions into meaningful actions. Campaigners give each other moral and emotional support. Joining a group provides you with campaign materials and ways in which you, together with many thousands of others across the country, can help to exert pressure on our government, financial institutions which fund arms sales, companies which manufacture components for military use, and retailers which sell Israeli products. Join the campaigns on Saturdays from 12 till 2 in Newport St Thomas's Square and outside Ryde Co-op. Join us. Email info@iwpsc.org. Join the IWPSC group on Facebook.
Reduced rate from Peter Smith of Chale. I have an urgent task for our two island parliamentary representatives. Get island motorists a fairer deal. We pay full rate for our road tax, but because of the astronomical prices on ferries to the mainland, many of us can rarely, if ever, afford to drive on mainland roads. And, as every island motorist knows, the amount of road closures on the Isle of Wight at the moment is a scandal. Our road closures involve expensive and time-wasting detours, as if petrol and diesel didn't cost enough. May I make 3 suggestions? 1. Renegotiate the contract with Island Roads to make sure there is access for motorists during repairs whenever possible. 2. Negotiate with ferry companies for dramatically reduced rates for island motorists, rates which are not season sensitive. 3. Persuade the DVLA to agree to a specially reduced road fund rate for motorists who live on the Isle of Wight. Any one of these suggestions being implemented would be a great help.
Exorbitant Fares by Marianne Napper, Chale. Whitelinks car ferry prices have been a topic of well-founded complaint for some considerable time. I write as an islander with specific reference to the duration of the upcoming musical festival. Firstly, it is immoral that island residents should have to suffer the exorbitant prices demanded during this period. It is not always possible to choose the best time to travel, avoiding such times as personal circumstances can dictate otherwise. Furthermore, and unfairly so, discounts are not accepted for travel during the duration of the festival. We have had to pay £141.25 from Lymington to Yarmouth return journey on Friday, June the 20th, which is a festival day. 1 month ago we paid £81 for the exact same booking. So because there happens to be a music festival on the island, which is our home, we have had to pay an extra £60.25p. That is a 75% increase. It shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Amazing Hospice from Jan Baum of Bembridge. As an island resident and a volunteer at Mountbatten, I couldn't help but feel dismayed that the county press last week gave priority front page coverage to an American fast food chain over the devastating and far-reaching news that the funding to Mountbatten is being severely cut from this autumn. This without any proper and meaningful consultation. The cuts represent a disinvestment of 40% by 2026-27. The hospice is amazingly supported by the island community, but we are a limited population, and there is only so much we can do. The hospice is now facing stark choices, and services will inevitably have to be cut. The Integrated Care Board, ICB, which has initiated the cuts, said, "We are committed to ensuring more care is provided in the community close to where people live. For the population of the island, that means care being provided on the island. We already have to travel to the mainland for cardiac and cancer treatment and more, and the only remaining hospital on the island is already stretched to capacity and beyond. So where will these patients and their families turn to for help?" Nigel Hartley, outgoing Chief Executive Officer, is right. As a retired nurse, I also know that the NHS has always ignored the dying. But what makes Mountbatten so special, which I have experienced as both a volunteer and friend of those using the service, is that they scoop you up, wrap their arms around you, and make your remaining days the best that they can be.
Blood Quest by Andrew Grand from Carisbrooke. Following the call for blood donors, I logged into the Give Blood site and selected the Riverside Centre. There are no sessions between now and October the 10th, and I was offered 4 nearest sites on the mainland, all in pretty obscure locations, the first session being July the 29th. Sadly, blood donations on the island, except for the very determined, was hollowed out years ago, and now blood is urgently needed.
Friendly Parish by Joanna Minchin of Wellow. I've just returned from a thoroughly enjoyable Meet Your Counsellors session. It was an informal gathering, not a meeting, in Shalfleet Village Hall with the Shalfleet Parish Counsellors. Well over 50 parishioners attended during the 2 hours, and we were met at the door by the friendly, welcoming people who were voted in on May the 1st. Inside the hall, many tables and chairs were laid out, with councillors sitting chatting to locals, finding out what they want from their local parish council. Hot drinks and cakes were available, and all funded by the councillors personally, not paid for out of parish funds. Quite a brilliant initiative, and one I gather may be repeated elsewhere in the West Wight, as the event was attended by some councillors from neighbouring parishes. I congratulate them and am grateful to them for giving up their time for this important job. Going this extra mile outside of the monthly meetings to meet us, the local people, show their faces and engage in constructive dialogue was much appreciated by all.
What has Council got against Ventnor? By Tom Pearce, Ventnor. I asked the Isle of Wight Council, what have you got against Ventnor? We have 3 roads shut, and after the debacle of Leeson Road. Bath Road has been shut for 16 months. I walked up there, and the partial wall collapse I could move in a morning with a loader and trailer. Esplanade Road has 1 rock in the road you could pick up and remove. Belgrove Road has a rock slide at the end of the road which could be dealt with in a day. Has the council no idea how these road closures affect Ventnor businesses, residents and holiday visitors? They should hang their heads in shame. Go down to the seafront, people just trying to have a drink or a meal or sit on the beach, and the road is jammed with cars belching out carbon monoxide because Bath Road is shut and cars have tried to go both ways. I wish the council would go down and see it. It's absolutely disgraceful. Clear the roads this week and sort out who pays afterwards. I won't start about Ventnor Winter Gardens.
So it's goodbye from me, John.
And goodbye from Mary.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the Scaffolding News follows that.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello. It's not that long ago, certainly in living memory, that it was almost unheard of for a blind child to attend a mainstream school. The parents of those who did had to take on the education establishment to achieve it. But times, attitudes, technology have all changed. Now, only approximately 5% of visually impaired children go to special schools. This programme isn't intended to rerun the old argument about mainstream versus special schools, but there are those who think that the issue now is one of lack of choice between mainstream and special, and that money, or the lack of it, lies at its heart. New College Worcester, NCW, is a residential school with just under 60 visually impaired students this year, between the ages of 11 and 19. But its head teacher thinks that there are others who would take the special school option up if they could, but who are prevented by local authorities' unwillingness to fund them due to their own financial problems. Now, the college has sent an open letter to the Secretaries of State for Work and Pensions and Education as part of their campaign to raise awareness of this issue. Here's part of what they wrote.
We strongly believe that the government needs to consider a more invest to save approach. If children and young people receive timely support that meets their needs at the right kind of school, then they are much more likely to be prepared and able to access the workplace when they are older. We call for the government to invest some of the Get Britain Working funding in providers like New College Worcester, who are already supporting those who are at an increasing risk of becoming economically inactive before their careers have even begun. There is also a need for a wider understanding of the pressures of funding on the sector, and we ask the government to strongly consider either extending the statutory override that is due to end in 2026 or remove the debt that is threatening local authorities once the override ends.
Well, I've been talking to the head teacher of New College Worcester, Rachel Perks, about her campaign.
The issue goes beyond getting more money for NCW for students to come here. It's totally wrong that students are having to wait to receive answers to decisions as to where their need is best met. We've spoken to countless people, both in the vision impaired community and the wider SEND community, who are experiencing similar challenges to us. And that's backed up by the number of organisations who signed our open letter, including the National Association of Special Schools, the Thomas Pocklington Trust, Blind in Business, RNC. The UK is home to some of the best SEND schools in the world, supporting young people with disabilities to thrive. And the biggest government spend at the moment is on social care. There will have to be enough money later on down the line if social care pick up students as opposed to the workplace.
Let's talk about the workplace, because you've targeted this letter very much at the government's Get Britain Working drive. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, good tactics in terms of explaining why you think it's in the government's long-term interest to do it, to spend money now rather than have to spend it later. But how much does this reflect NCW's need for the money to do its job?
Well, I think if you look at the contextual data with what's happening with VI education at the moment and what's currently falling short, it becomes quite apparent why we chose to take that particular tack. From the data that we have, we know that only 1 in 4 blind and partially sighted people of working age are in employment. NCW graduates, 9 out of 10, go on to further education or employment after leaving. You know, you've got cash-strapped councils have in the past year paid 18.1 million to private special schools that have repeatedly failed standards inspections. And there's a perfect storm brewing in terms of the increasing numbers of EHCPs that are coming through at the moment. Councils facing insolvencies, new accounting rules change next year on SEND spending. You've got changes to things like disability benefits, council budget cuts and freezes. And we are showing that what we deliver is of a better standard.
So,
please continue to support us.
So is some local authorities' reluctance to send children to a residential school outside the authority, is that affecting take-up of places for you and therefore your financial position?
I think it's important to focus on the fact that the lag affects the student more than anything. We can support that student in the mainstream, in their mainstream school. We do that a lot around the UK. What we tend to find is that there has been a breakdown in placement, and the person at the centre of that, who's that young person, is not in education at all. And we are having to deliver that education remotely whilst that sort of, debate continues as to whether they should come here or not. And many times parents are having to go down, or families are having to go down a very long, arduous, financially costly route to get their child to the placement that they believe will serve them best, whether that is mainstream or whether it's somewhere like NCW. There are many others around the country. And it's that delay that means that learning time is lost for that young person.
The school is expensive, isn't it? I mean, more expensive, I think, than some of the country's most prestigious public schools. Why is the cost so high? And it's not surprising, is it? Local authorities in their current state jib at the price.
A little bit of a challenge to you there. We are quality assured by every local authority who sends a student to us. In terms of the costs that many local authorities pay for students with a variety of SEND needs, our costs sit pretty much in the mid-range, and the Department for Education has supported that.
But it is a residential school, and that's a logical reason why it will be expensive. But if a local authority is comparing that with the cost of educating a child who's living at home, clearly there's a gap, a big one.
Absolutely. And, we've been more flexible in terms of our residential offers. We do 5 days, we do day provision. One of the things we are noticing is that we've had more local authorities, particularly for sixth form, asking for the 3-day model because, of course, you only have to provide 15 hours of curriculum support. And we have said that no, that's not available because of our curriculum framework for vision impairment that we deliver on top of the mainstream curriculum.
But do you accept that there are visually impaired children who will thrive in mainstream education and learn many of the social skills which makes inclusion after they leave easier?
Absolutely. And I absolutely believe that. And I think there is a place for both of us. The work that we've been doing on the campaigning level isn't about a binary choice, this or that. It is about acceptance that we need to exist to support that choice for families to make, and that we can support that learning that happens within the mainstream. If you're a school where this is your first student with VI that you have, then we are able to provide a lot of support around that.
We're recording this before the financial review, but all reports suggest that schools are going to get more money, 4.5 billion, we understand. Is some of that going to come your way, do you think?
I think because we are a non-maintained special school, I think a very small amount of that will come our way. But what it will allow other schools to achieve is that choice in terms of utilising the specialisms that are out there and utilising our specialism to support them. And I think that might have been what Catherine McKinnell was alluding to in response to our campaign letter. She said that specialist institutions such as NCW will be crucial touchstones for ongoing reform. And I think that's perhaps what she is alluding to in terms of this additional revenue that's able to be, well, we hope will be coming forwards from the spending review.
Rachel Perks, head of New College Worcester. I mentioned at the beginning of this programme how parents have had to take on their local authorities to get funding for their children to go to the school of their choice. This is the position Suzanne Hollinshead found herself in when her son Zach was struggling at his local school. And Suzanne, I think originally you felt mainstream was right for Zach, didn't you?
Yes, we did. But really, for us, the cracks started to appear when Zach moved to middle school. The environment became a lot harder for him with his set of complex needs, really. So we really saw him start to withdraw even more from his peers. The way his learning was provided for him, unfortunately, schools are they've got so many children to look after. For Zach, with the vision impairment and various other things going on, he's also neurodiverse. He was struggling to access the work. So he would come out of school exhausted and he would instantly go to sleep. We would wake him up for his dinner, he'd go back to sleep and then rinse and repeat the next day. So it was really tough for him.
What reasons did the local authority give you for their resistance to sending Zach to New College?
Purely financial. It was obviously public purse being the key issue driving their decision to fight us over it. But I think because visual impairment is a low incidence but high impact disability, there is a lack of understanding about the impact being in an environment that the child feels completely drowned in. And that's how Zach would actually describe it himself, that he felt small and invisible and like he was drowning and the learning was bouncing off him.
What did it take to win your case?
It cost us dearly financially, Peter, and emotionally as a family. You know, we spent over £70,000.
You took out a second mortgage, didn't you?
We did. And to be honest, we did hit the point where we had no more money to add into the process. And we were fortunate with the legal team supporting us that they carried on the fight. It was well worth it.
What effect did getting the place at special school have on Zach?
Oh, gosh. Zach was in a mental health downward spiral, so he had given up. We'd removed him from mainstream school. He saw no value in his life at all. So those were really quite dark days for us. We felt helpless. But if I could just fast forward to today, that landscape is completely unrecognisable for Zach. And, you know, he's now a confident and funny, ambitious 16-year-old, and he's currently trucking through the marathon of GCSE exams. But it's not all about the academic achievements, it's about the other elements that a specialist setting can provide for a child like Zach.
Suzanne Hollinshead, thank you very much indeed. And New College seems to have had no trouble in persuading ex-pupils to speak up for it on its website. This is Tobias and first Zoe.
The independent living skills provision is fantastic and it's tailored to student-specific capabilities, things that they want to work on. And then off the back of that, when I did go to university, I found that my skills for living independently, cooking independently, doing laundry were at least as good, if not better, than a lot of my sighted peers. For instance, I ended up sort of demonstrating, showing them how to do specific things that I learned at New College.
I was able, by the end of my time, to join every club. So I was in the rock school, the choir, the jazz band. I did some musical theatre, I did folk, and I had lessons in piano, the saxophone and the organ. And I truly do not believe that I would be the person I am today without all of that.
Tobias and Zoe. Well, among the 400 signatories to the open letter were a number of other special schools, including Joseph Clarke School. It's unusual for a school for visually impaired children in the sense that it's a day school, it's in London, and students ranging from 3 to 19 attend it. Well, I'm joined by head teacher Shadia Filali Mute. First of all, Shadia, tell me more about the school. I mean, how many pupils, what it's basically set up to do?
Yeah, we cater for 110 pupils and we're based in East London. So really, it's a day school, but we actually provide also a very bespoke curriculum and also life skill opportunities.
And how are you funded, Shadia?
We are funded by local authorities. We work with 17 different local authorities.
So, I mean, you heard what Rachel had to say about New College Worcester. Have you got similar problems in terms of what you need to fulfil your role?
Yeah, many London boroughs are facing rising demand of SEND support, particularly high needs provision, but the budgets are under immense strain and local authorities are doing their best under difficult circumstances, but the scale of need is growing and schools like ours are often supporting children with increasingly complex needs with limited resources.
How would extra funding make a difference?
Really, for us, is extra funding for recruitment for SEND specialists and teachers. So recruiting and retaining skilled staff in special needs school is getting really hard. This will require expertise, huge dedication, and the system needs to do more to attract and support people. So investment in training and career development will be key to strengthening the provision nationally.
Well, we're also joined by the National Association of Special Schools. They're a membership organisation representing non-local authority special schools in England and Wales. They have also signed this open letter. Mari Davis is their Senior Policy and Public Affairs Officer. Mari, I mean, why did NAS sign this open letter?
Well, we're supporting this campaign because special schools across the country are doing life-changing work for children and young people with complex needs. We have heard from the Minister within their letters that they say there remains a critical role for special schools. However, what we really need from government is commitments for more collaborative working with the sector to share information about what their plans are.
Well, actually, we did ask the Department for Education to speak to the Minister for School Standards, Catherine McKinnell. We were told that they were not able to put a minister forward on this particular occasion. They did tell us that they were investing £740 million to encourage councils to create more specialist places in mainstream schools, paving the way for significant long-term reform, and local authorities will be able to use this funding to expand special schools for the most complex needs. Does that encourage you?
Our concerns with that budget is around capital funding, and it does not really address the concerns that colleagues have already mentioned around staffing, recruitment and retention, and the other provision that is needed around those units. It's not just about the buildings, it needs to be about the support available and the knowledge and expertise of specialists. We want the government to address the local authority debt crisis. We expect some decisions to be made during the spending review at the end of this week. And that is really important that the government does make that decision on what they're going to do. So local authorities, schools, and everybody within the system can forward plan effectively.
Let me just quickly finally go back to Shadia. How confident are you that some of that money is going to come your way?
I think there is a clear desire to improve things by the government, but what's needed now is a joined up investment from early identification right through the specialist provision. We know what works. The challenge is making sure that those solutions are properly supported and available for us.
Shadia Filale-Mute, Mari Davis, thank you both very much indeed. And that's it for today. We welcome your comments, your questions, your experiences of anything that we've raised. Email in touch at bbc.co.uk. Leave us voicemails on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
Scaffolding and Skips News, week commencing 13th of June. Newport area, Guildhall, Quayside, Quay Street, Café Isola, St James's Street, Man in the Moon, 16 to 17 St James's Street, 78 Pyle Street, 1 Laundry Lane, Cranley, Cypress Road, and Age UK 114A Pyle Street.
Ryde area. Aspire, 35 to 36 High Street, 2 Union Street. One Portview, Seaview. Charcoal Grill, 65A Union Street. Michelangelo's, 30 St Thomas's Street. 131 High Street. Isaaculou Aesthetics Beauty, 120 High Street. Ride Area Skips, The Lodge, 1 Ferry Road, Seaview.
Ventnor Area, Tintars 24 Pier Street, 1 Pierview Esplanade, 28 South Street and 21 Church Street.
Sandown Area, the Montpelier Hotel, 5 Pier Street, 3 Fort Street, 77 High Street, Fields, 47 to 49 High Street, 44 Beachfields Road, Pier Street side of building.
Cowes Area, 9 Carvel Lane, the Anchor Inn, 1 to 3 High Street, and Lloyds Bank, 71 High Street.